What's up, guys? Noah. Today I'm going to turn you into a gas and recycle you through my body.
How the fuck are you gonna do that?
Watch this. In case you couldn't tell from that amazing intro perfectly describing what an oil catch can does, we're installing oil catch cans, plural, 2 of them, in the Civic today. That's pretty dope, huh? You like that?
It's pretty fucking
How
cool,
did it feel
dog.
how did it feel to be a gas, bro?
I thought it was pretty fun.
Were my intestines all right? Or
Yeah,
were there like a lot of hemorrhoids?
They were fucked up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Your intestines are gross.
I know, I have like too much Cheetos Easy Make mac and cheese, and it gives me hemorrhoids. These are our cans. And the Civic is interesting because the PCV system has both a really large vent and a really small vent, which is actually on the PCV valve. So I will show you guys why we need 2 catch cans of 2 different types. Why do we need an oil catch can, Noah?
Well, pressure can build in your crankcase in many different ways.
There can either be pressure from your intake or pressure from your exhaust. This happens by the seals around your valve stem being worn, which is most old cars, especially this one. Air from the intake or exhaust going to the manifold can escape through the seals that go around your valve stems. It'll go up into your valve cover area, and that's pressure that you don't want there.
Another way it can happen is blow-by, which happens on the compression stroke when all the valves are closed, and the piston is moving up to compress the air. If those piston rings are not perfect, some partially compressed air can escape down and get into the oil pan area.
That's pressure. I don't want that there.
No, you don't want pressure there.
The last common way that you can get pressure in your crankcase is from a leaky head gasket. Not leaking a fluid necessarily, but leaking compressed air from the compression stroke once again into the oil passages that are neighbors to the pistons. That is pressure that you don't want in your oil passages, and that can cause the oil to vaporize as well. And I think that is a lot of where the oil in my engine is going, because it's disappearing and it's not leaking. So I'm hoping that this oil catch can system will reveal how much blow-by I truly have, and maybe some of that oil I can just dump back in there. All right, guys, so we know how blow-by can get into your engine, but what does a catch can do to prevent that? There's 2 spots on the Civic engine that help get blow-by out of the crankcase, but both of those do not have a catch or a filter for any kind of oil vapors that go through them. So into your intake, you're sucking in vapors of liquids that your engine should not be burning technically. So a catch can just filters that out and lets clean air go back into your intake. This is my catch can. This here, we got the in and we got the out. The PCV hoses run in here and out here. They come in, they go around a filtered area that is also baffled to allow air to flow, but catch anything heavier than air. And then it just dumps them as they turn back into a liquid from a gas into here, and it catches it. There's also a dipstick, which is super cool because I don't have to remove the actual can in order to see how much evil liquid I have in my catch cans. So now we just need to talk about where I'm going to mount them. Right here. Right there where my VIN is, I'm pretty sure that's part of my VIN. I'm gonna take this shroud off for the wipers, and we're gonna take our top intake pipe off, and then we have full access to both sides of this piece of the firewall that we can then mount both of our catch cans to. Here we go. Check this out, ready? Boom, dirty ass cabin air filter.
Oh, I see what you're talking about.
Ew, yucky. This is where you get your external air from. That's kind of fun. It's also where your wiper motor and wiper system hangs out. Hardware. These are the different bungs for the different size of hoses you can have on it. And these are the screws you're supposed to put through the mount. We just need to take the bracket off of the catch can. I am now going to draw Sharpie holes where this goes. I'm going to do that twice, once for each catch can. Make sure they are spaced properly. I'm going to drill some holes put some nuts and bolts through it, and call her a day, bud. I couldn't fit the drill that I have down low enough at an angle to get a second one, so I figured this was just tight enough. You might want an angle drill for this, even with the intake out of the way. Side note, if you have the stock intake, this mounting location will not work because you have a giant air filter box right here that takes up all this room. So you will need an aftermarket intake, and honestly, I'm not sure where else you would mount them. Don't mount them here because that's really close to the exhaust, and if you for some reason pop one of the hoses or it gets melted through, you're releasing vapors near the hottest part of your engine, and it could realistically, in a version of reality, start engine fire, and that sucks. I think it might be easiest to screw the bracket back onto the catch can, and then because we have our holes drilled, just hold that nut in place with like a pair of pliers or something when I move this over there, and then screw the Allen back here in. That's the route I'm gonna go with this. Using some needle nose pliers, holding the nut that goes on the back side of this, like that. The ratchet is on the other side of the bolt. I put this through, then I get my nut as even as I can, give it a gentle pull. A little bit more. All right, we're on. Yeah. Good. And now our catch cans are mounted. Look at that. That looks pretty good. There they are. Mounted back here. Now we're gonna move on to running our PCV hoses. All right, here's the reason you need two different catch cans. They look the same, but the kits they came in are different. One came with these giant, like 8mm hose ends. The other one only came with little ones. Now, that's because this is your top PCV ventilation port. It just vents the valve cover, all the pressure in there from the bad valve seals and stuff. That's where it gets it. This is also where most of the oil vapors hang out because they're hot and heat rises. One of these catch cans is gonna get these big ones. The other side obviously goes onto the intake. We're just interrupting the flow from here to here, running it through a catch can to take all the vapors out and just put fresh air back into the intake. Each kit comes with some O-rings. The O-rings need to go over this right here. And then it would not hurt to lube them up a little bit because you can crack O-rings pretty easily. So I'm gonna do a little bit of this. So yeah, see, it screws all the way in like that. And we're gonna go from here, under the intake into there, which is the inside. And then the outside is gonna wrap around and boom, into the intake. Surprise, surprise. The hose that came with the larger kit goes inside the 18mm out. That doesn't do anything. So luckily we had some extra old cooling system hose laying around from when we did this. Get yourself some hose that is large enough with this kit because it doesn't fucking come with it and that shit doesn't stretch nearly enough. Yeah,
Look at that.
all right, here we go. We got this boy, we got this boy. It goes over there, in, then comes out, and it's gonna go into the little bung on the intake. That right up there is your PCV valve. And the hose coming off of it, you also need to remove because that goes to your intake manifold. You need this size wrench and or socket, and you need a long pair of pliers in order to get that hose clamp type thing off. That is here under the car. There's your catalytic converter, or no, there's your oil pan. Yeah, it's right above this axle to the left of the oil filter. And I'm going to replace that PCV valve while I am at it. And then I'm going to run a hose from the PCV valve up to our other catch can, and then run the hose from that catch can into that little spot on the intake manifold that hose is going to. You can't really see yet. Guys, this is why you replace your PCV valve. Whether you're doing catch cans or not, replace this. Mine is completely plugged, and I'm really glad I'm replacing it. So here I go. Was that fun, Noah?
Not at all. That fucking sucked.
Yeah, you're working all the way down in there.
You got all these fucking wires and pipes, so I had to like shove my hand in between like that.
In between the throttle cable and the actual throttle.
Yeah. I had like
super dumb.
Barely any mobility.
And we had to use our cutting technique where you slice it with a box cutter.
That black hose right there that came with it is not long
tighten
enough
it.
to use both as the in and out
For this mounting location.
for this mounting location.
Even if we went to this one, it still wouldn't have been long enough because the PCV valve is so far down the back of the block.
So thankfully we still had
Mystery long noodle.
mystery long noodle from the yellow coolant piping, and it fits really well. So we're gonna use that for the in, and we're gonna use the black tube that came with it for the out.
This shit's stupid. Got the yellow hose run. That was easy going to the PCV valve that I showed you guys earlier. This black one had to go to the higher part that is on the side of the intake manifold. Not very easy to see from the top or the bottom.
I can see it. Yep, right there.
See it? This guy right here. You see it?
Yep.
Yeah, this black hose sucks, and getting the hose clamp on also sucks because the hose is not tight enough to just slide on its own. But that part was crappy. We needed one person on top, one person on the bottom, and we argued a whole lot. Almost broke our marriage. Then we just ran it over here to the out. So remember, it's coming from the PCV valve, the shiny gold thing, to the in, through the catch can, and then back into the side, really hard to get to, of the intake manifold. But those are your two different PCV systems on the Civic. One's really easy and on top, but if you don't do the other one, you're still gonna get oil vapors in your intake. Even though it doesn't look like it's going to your intake, it's still going to your intake manifold. So these plugs that come inside them, already installed, are meant to have a closed off system where no amount of vapor or air escapes to the atmosphere. But if you wanted to have some of it escape to the atmosphere, you could use one of these. And those, they come with a barb that you can put in the top. And that would allow you to vent some of your stuff to the atmosphere. We want it as a completely closed system where it sucks in the oil and then sends clean air back. So we are exclusively going to use the included caps. But they do not come very tight, so if you get these kits from eBay, do yourself a favor and tighten them up. They already have the O-rings on them, so you just need to make sure they're tight. Okay, that fucking sucked. Most of the job made sense, but when it came down to it, this is really poorly designed and really hard to get off, and even harder to get back on. And when you break the clips, they're a super specific clip that I don't have any of, so we put it on as best we could. This hose isn't big enough to fit onto anything important. It comes with 18mm ins, but it doesn't come with 18mm hose, so get you some hose. We'll see how this withstands, and then I will get back with you after driving it for a little while, and we'll kind of do an update. But as of right now, that's all we got. Don't forget to check out our podcast on the channel Casting Out. It is a friend channel of this one. You can find it at the bottom of our homepage. Okay, it's been a few weeks. I put about 100 to 200 miles on the Civic, and I just want to show you guys how it held up. So here's the situation. Got our catch cans hanging out in there. All of the hoses are just fine. This one's a little kinked. I gotta find a way to unkink that. As I said, this hose was by far the worst, and it came with the bigger, more expensive kit, which is kind of disappointing. In terms of stuff that has been caught, my dipsticks are dry, and I don't want to take the cans off right now. I guess that's a good sign. I also haven't driven it that far. If something really starts to happen over the next couple months as I drive this more, I will make an update video and let you guys know. But as of right now, this is just kind of preventative maintenance. Makes your engine run better, keeps your throttle plate and your intake manifold cleaner. It just helps your car run a little better by giving fresh air exclusively to the intake. And so yeah, that's our update. Nothing caught, but everything is holding up just fine. That mounting location works great. Damn it. Thanks for watching this absolute onslaught of information type video. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe.